The Watcher in the Sky. The night sky over the American Southwest was unusually clear. Stars shimmered like shards of glass scattered across a velvet canvas. Below, the desert stretched out in silence, endless and ancient. But above that silence, something stirred. Hovering 300 feet above the sand, invisible to radar and silent to human ears, was a ship not of this world. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, catching the moonlight in soft pulses. It made no sound, yet its presence felt loud, like a scream held just beneath the skin of reality. Inside, Rack stood alone, tall, sinewy, and clad in a membrane-like exosuit. The alien pilot gazed through a translucent console. The interface shifted with his thoughts, colors, shapes, data streams dancing across his vision in perfect harmony. He wasn't here by accident. This was a mission, a crucial one. His people, the Corel, had once touched the stars with wonder. But in their pride, they had burned too bright. Their planet now lay hollowed and limping, a graveyard of ambition. Rax had been chosen to watch Earth, not out of conquest, but caution. Humanity teetered on the same edge the Corel had once danced upon, a knife's edge between brilliance and destruction. For weeks, he had observed in silence. Their cities, vast and chaotic. Their art, raw and emotional. Their history, a storm of beauty and brutality. Through augmented reality, he absorbed it all. Culture, language, even fragments of emotion. Still, something was missing. Understanding. Tonight, something shifted. Below, in the valley shadowed by craggy hills, a squad of U.S. soldiers moved through the darkness. Night vision goggles glowed green. Their formation was tight, their movements silent but deliberate. A training operation, according to intercepted signals. But there was something else, urgency. Not just protocol, not just discipline. These humans moved like men preparing for something real. Rax leaned in. The interface responded, zooming in to magnify the soldiers. Heartbeats, heat signatures, brainwave activity, fear, tension, determination. They were not machines. They were alive with purpose. He felt it stir inside him, a question. What drives them? He had seen the missiles, the speeches, the wars. But now, in this still moment beneath the stars, he saw something more fragile. The human spirit not in domination, but in perseverance. And suddenly, the rules felt too small. He knew the protocols, observe, document, report. But protocol had not saved his own world. Protocol had watched it die. He needed more than data. He needed contact. Without hesitation, he raised his hand to the console. Symbols swirled, confirming the override. A pulse of light built beneath the ship. No sound, no warning, just light. Below, the soldiers paused. Confused shouts rose into the air. A beam enveloped them, gentle, humming with energy. In a flash, they were gone from the desert floor. Inside the ship, the air shifted. 6 soldiers stood in a circular chamber bathed in soft azure light. Their rifles snapped up instantly, instincts kicking in. Panic surged, but Rax stood calmly before them, arms at his side, unarmed, unreadable. One soldier stepped forward. "Where the hell are we?" Rax's voice, smooth and resonant, filled the chamber without sound. "You're safe," he said. Not in English, but his words felt understood, as if the meaning landed directly in their minds. The soldiers flinched. Guns remained raised, but fingers hesitated at the triggers. The room came alive, walls dissolving into holograms. Earth, data, history, images of human wars, inventions, faces, grief, and triumph. "My name is Rax," he said. "I came not to harm you, but to learn from you. Your kind stands where mine once stood, on the edge." "Edge of what?" Another soldier demanded, voice sharp. Rax turned, the hologram shifting again. This time, it showed a world, lush, vibrant, then slowly consumed by machinery, its oceans blackened, its skies choked. This, Rax said, was home, until it wasn't. Silence fell, just the hum of the ship and the quiet breaths of confused men staring at the impossible. Rax faced them fully. "You are not my enemies. but your future may be. And just like that, the course of human history began to turn. 700 feet above the earth, in a ship built from warning, curiosity, and hope. Unwilling guests. Inside the alien craft, the air felt thick, not with pressure, but with uncertainty. The chamber was circular, the walls alive with shifting light. The 6 soldiers stood at its center, rifles raised, scanning for exits, threats, anything familiar. But there was no door, no floor panels, no sound save the faint hum of alien machinery. Rax stood before them, still, almost serene. His features were humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, a face, but unfamiliar in the details. Skin like brushed metal, eyes a deep violet. He radiated intelligence, not menace. But that did little to calm the soldier's instincts. "Put your hands where I can see 'em," barked Sergeant Ortega, the unit's leader. His voice cracked through the air like a whip. Rax didn't flinch. "You are safe," he said again, his voice bypassing language. It landed in their minds like a thought they'd always known. Corporal Jennings glanced at the walls. What is this place?" he whispered. The walls responded before Rax could. Holograms flared to life. Images of Earth, cities, wars, inventions, celebrations. 1 billion years of human triumphs and tragedies, compressed into flickering lights. "My ship," Rax said, "and my window into your world." Private Lou tightened her grip on her weapon. "You've been watching us?" "Learning from you," Rax replied, stepping forward a single pace. "Your species fascinates us. You are bold, conflicted-driven, and on a path we know too well." Ortega didn't lower his weapon. "So, what? This is an interrogation, a science experiment." Rax paused. Then, slowly, the room changed. The holograms vanished, replaced by a projection of another planet. Rolling green hills, towering crystalline cities, strange creatures walking side by side. The world pulsed with light, harmony, hope. "Our home," Rax said softly, "before we mistook progress for wisdom. Before we stopped asking should we, and only ask can we." The scene darkened. The cities crumbled. Skies turned red. Oceans turned black. The alien figures became refugees, wanderers. "Our greed for energy, automation, expansion," he said, "led to ruin." The soldiers exchanged glances. Their weapons lowered a fraction, confusion replacing fear. "We're not them," Ortega muttered, more to himself than to Rax. "Not yet," Rax replied. "But your world echoes ours. Your skies darken. Your machines grow hungrier. You invent faster than you reflect." Private Lou stepped forward. "So what do you want with us? Why not contact our leaders?" Rax tilted his head. "Leaders speak of nations, but soldiers speak of choices. I needed to see not your power, but your purpose." The silence grew heavier. Jennings broke it. "You want to judge humanity based on a midnight training op?" "No," Rax said. "I want to understand what drives you to run drills in the dark. Why you prepare for war in times of peace. What keeps your finger near the trigger, even when there's no enemy in sight." The soldiers looked around again, not at the room, but at each other. This wasn't the kind of conversation they were trained for. Sergeant Ortega finally lowered his rifle. "We train because we're told to. We fight for each other. And yeah, sometimes we fight what we don't understand." Rax nodded. "Then understand me." He raised his hand, and the room changed again. Images of Carrel children playing beneath alien trees. Of alien doctors, engineers, artists. Of technology used to heal, to create. Then the shift, skies darkening, machines turning, weapons rising. Screams in languages the soldiers couldn't understand, but pain they clearly could. "No invasion," Rax said. "No conquest. Just a question." He looked at them, eyes glowing faintly. "Will you be better than we were?" The soldiers stood silent. The world they thought they knew had been cracked open. The enemy they expected never came. Sergeant Ortega looked at his team. "What are you planning to do with us?" Rax stepped back. "Nothing more. You may leave." The light in the center of the room pulsed again, this time softer. A portal forming. "But when you return," Rax said, "you'll carry a message few will believe, but many may need. They hesitated. Then, one by one, they stepped toward the light, guns lowered, minds racing. As they vanished, Rack stood alone once more. He looked up, not at the soldiers, but through the ship's ceiling, past the clouds, into the stars. He had started a conversation. Now, the question was, would humanity answer? The fire outside. The soldiers had only just begun to process what they had seen when the ship trembled. A low hum rippled through the walls. The soft, calming light shifted, warmer tones replaced by stark white. Something had changed. Something outside. Rax turned his head sharply, accessing a separate thread of his augmented interface. Symbols glowed across the translucent console, pulsing faster than before. He didn't speak, but the tension in his posture said enough. Sergeant Ortega stepped forward. "What's happening?" Rax's eyes didn't leave the interface. "You were found. Hundreds of feet below, in the silent desert." Earth's military had responded. Satellite scans had picked up the anomaly. Stealth protocols were no longer working. Now, fighters screamed across the sky, their afterburners lighting up the night like comets of war. Within moments, the alien ship was surrounded. At least a dozen F-22s formed a loose perimeter in the upper atmosphere, weapons hot. Ground teams mobilized, missile batteries aimed upward from nearby bases. No announcements, no negotiations, just preparation. Inside the ship, the soldiers tensed, instincts roaring back to life. "Let us talk to them," Ortega said quickly. "They'll think we're prisoners." Rax shook his head. "You are already considered lost assets. Your return might be seen as manipulation or a trap." A quiet beep echoed through the chamber. On a side panel, a red triangle blinked. Rax's voice dropped lower. "A missile has been armed." The tension snapped. Ortega moved toward the wall. "Then do something. We're not trying to start a war." Rax hesitated. Even now, he wanted to avoid violence. But Earth had responded with fear, a mirror image of his own people's mistakes. He couldn't allow history to repeat itself. Not again. He pressed 2 fingers to the console. Outside, the atmosphere shimmered. A dome of energy unfolded around the ship, invisible to the human eye until the missile struck. It didn't explode. Instead, the projectile slammed into the shield and dissolved mid-air. Its kinetic force scattered into harmless light, absorbed like a stone dropped into still water. Inside, the soldiers flinched at the impact. Then silence. "You blocked it," Jennings whispered. Rax nodded. "We came prepared, not to conquer, but to endure." Private Lou moved to the wall, staring out through a now transparent segment. She could see the fighters circling, hungry for an order. "They're scared. So were we," Rax said softly. "And fear makes tyrants of the well-meaning." Ortega turned to him. "Then show them something they won't fear." Rax looked at him. Then he walked to the center of the chamber and lifted his hands. The walls glowed again, this time brighter, wider, like a canvas unfolding. But this wasn't a threat display. It was an offering. The hologram burst into life, rising over the soldiers like a dome. A world unfolded in vivid color. Forests of impossible trees, oceans that glowed, cities sculpted from light and stone. Kal-El families walked hand in hand. Creators sang while machines listened. Healing technology knit wounds with music. Collaboration, not conquest. This, Rax said, was the beginning. A world shaped by vision. But we lost ourselves. The scene darkened. Pollution clouded the air. Machines turned on their makers. Automated defenses destroyed anything outside a centralized power. The very technology that had once healed now sterilized entire cities. We thought we were advanced. We thought we were immune to the consequences of our own brilliance. Ortega's voice was quiet. "You weren't." Rax turned, his eyes glowing faintly. "Neither are you." He paused, then looked skyward, through the ceiling of his ship beyond the shields, to where humanity watched from behind crosshairs. "But there's a chance," he said. "You still have it." The soldiers stood in silence. No alarms now, no commands. Just the quiet realization that they were standing inside a lesson, one humanity wasn't prepared for, but desperately needed. Rax closed his hands, and the projection dimmed. You are a species of potential, but your greatest threat is yourselves. Jennings looked to Ortega. We can talk to them. We could be the link. Ortega nodded slowly. But they have to see the truth. Rax walked to the console again, fingers moving swiftly. Outside, the ship's hull shimmered, sending a visual broadcast to nearby military receivers. A non-hostile transmission. No weapons shown. No demand. Just a message of peace, translated into every Earth language within range. An image appeared across military monitors. Rax, standing beside the human soldiers. Unarmed, open, calm. A pause. Then, miraculously, the fighter jets held formation. They didn't fire. They waited. Inside the ship, Rax let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. There's still time, he said. The fire outside had cooled for now. The message that echoed. The silence above the desert was fragile, the kind that follows a moment too close to disaster. The alien ship hovered still, its shield pulsing like a heartbeat. Around it, Earth's most advanced fighter jets floated in tight formation, weapons locked but unfired. Ground command waited for updates, breaths held, fingers hovering over triggers they hoped not to pull. Inside the ship, 6 soldiers and 1 alien stood at the edge of something far bigger than any of them. They weren't just inside a spacecraft anymore. They were in the crossroads of 2 civilizations. Sergeant Ortega turned to Rax, voice low and steady. They're not attacking. That broadcast of yours worked. Rax nodded, but his expression was unreadable. They're cautious, suspended between instinct and curiosity. A moment like this, he paused, searching for the right comparison. A single breath too loud could end it. The chamber dimmed as the holographic walls faded, giving way to transparent views of the desert night. Lights from distant bases blinked on the horizon. Dozens of jets hung in the sky like frozen birds. Private Lou stepped forward, gazing outward. They're waiting for a reason. One push either way. Ortega glanced at Rax. So give them one. Rax was quiet. His kind didn't do speeches. The Carrel shared thoughts, not persuasion. But now, with the fate of this moment resting on human fear and hope, words mattered. He walked to the center of the room, touched the console, and opened a channel again. This time, the message wasn't just a broadcast. It was a transmission of understanding. Every military screen, from command tents to cockpit HUDs, flashed to life. Rax's voice, translated and clear, spoke calmly. I am Rax of the Carrel. I have not come to invade, interfere, or deceive. I have come to understand you. My world once stood where yours stands now, full of wonder, full of invention, but blinded by its own brilliance. We believed we were destined to ascend. Instead, we fell. This ship holds 6 of your own, not as prisoners, as witnesses. They have seen what you are capable of, your ingenuity, your instinct, your fear. But they have also seen the danger of letting fear rule progress. I did not choose them for their rank. I chose them because they represent what your world forgets too easily. That unity begins with those who act before they are ordered. He paused, letting the words settle. We do not wish to dominate. We only wish to warn. Your planet walks a thin line. But you have one thing we lost, the chance to change. And tonight, you must choose escalation or evolution. The message ended. The desert held its breath. Inside the ship, Ortega turned to the others. If that doesn't reach them, nothing will. Then, something unexpected happened. One by one, the fighter jets peeled away from their formation, not in retreat, but in respectful withdrawal. No shots, no sirens, just a silent acknowledgement that the message had been received and heard. From the ground, high-ranking commanders watched the telemetry data and the soldier vitals still active inside the ship. No casualties, no lies, just truth, raw, strange, and undeniable. Inside the chamber, Rax faced the 6 soldiers once more. It is time, he said quietly. They are ready to receive you. A portal opened, soft light bathing the chamber floor. As they stepped toward it, Jennings turned. What about you? Won't they want to speak to you? They will, Rax said in time. But the first story must come from humans. The six stepped through the light. Their boots touched desert sand moments later. The cool night air, a sudden return to the world they knew, but one that no longer felt quite the same. Dozens of military personnel surrounded them, weapons holstered, eyes wide with questions. No one spoke. Not yet. Up above, the alien ship began to rise. Higher and higher, its lights fading gently into the stars. It didn't vanish. It ascended with intention, visible to every camera, every radar, every watching eye across the country. It wasn't hiding anymore. Back at base, the six soldiers were separated, debriefed, examined. Their stories were documented, their vitals checked. But none of them spoke of abduction or threat. Only a message, a warning, and a choice. Weeks later, the incident remained officially unconfirmed. But whispers spread, leaks emerged, and one clip, grainy, unofficial, real, circulated the net. An alien standing beside six soldiers, speaking calmly, pleading not for power, but for peace. It became known simply as the night we were chosen. And somewhere above, beyond the clouds, Rax watched, not as a conqueror, but as a witness, waiting to see if the message had been enough.